Hello, welcome back to my channel Christian Faith and Fiction. My name's Lou, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my recent reads, Christian fiction book reviews that I have done throughout the month of December mostly, a few in the beginning of January. These are mostly Christmas books, and whilst you're probably thinking that you don't want to read any more Christmas books right now, there may be some on there that are new to you that you want to put on your wish list for next year. If you've read any of these books, do let me know what you thought of them in the comments, and let's see how I got on. Hi, it's the 9th of December. This week I finished two of my Christmas books. The first one was Like a Christmas Dream by Lindsay Harrel. I read this in ebook and I really enjoyed it. It continues the story from her Port Willis stories. The first one is a complete book, The Secrets of Paper and Ink. It takes place in Cornwall, and this book follows the sister of one of the main characters in that book, Ginny. She was one of the main characters, and her sister Sarah. And in this book, Sarah is dealing with a controlling father who wants to determine who she's going to marry so that it's good for his business. And she decides to go and visit her sister, who is opening a bakery in Cornwall. And her father only agrees if she agrees to go on a date with a guy called Warren, who her father likes, on Christmas Eve. So she goes over there and hadn't seen her sister for ages, and she has to face some of her past and what she really wants to do in her future. And she also meets a guy called Michael. So that was a really nice Christmas romance, a shorter book. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. There's quite a lot going on in character development and everything in a short book. So it was really good. And the second book that I've just finished listening to is 12 Days at Bleakly Manor by Michelle Griep. And this is a kind of Dickensian Christmas. It's like, I would describe it as like a cross between a Charles Dickens book and an Agatha Christie book. Only kind of a light-hearted type of book. It follows Clara, who gets an invitation to go and stay at Bleakly Manor. And if she can stay the 12 days of Christmas, she will receive some money because her family's been done out of their fortune. And it was believed that her fiance took the money, and we can see that he is now in prison. And he also ends up going there, along with a whole load of other characters. And each one of them has been promised something if they will stay the 12 days. But when they get there, their host is nowhere to be seen, and they are told that only one of them will receive the prize. So there's all sorts of stuff going on during that week. They don't know who the host is. They don't know why certain kind of bad things are happening. And there's a kind of mystery going on. There's a romance, second chance romance going on. And yeah, I loved it. It was, those are two kind of, Charles Dickens and Agatha Christie are two of my favourite type of books, especially when I was in my 20s. So this was, right up my street. And I will going to give it a 5 out of 5 just because I loved all the Christmassy stuff. I loved all the references to the 12 days of Christmas, not the song, but the traditional feasts of the 12 days of Christmas. And if you're aware of Bleak House, the Dickens novel, then you will get the Easter eggs, the kind of references to the different characters that pop up throughout. Some of them thinly veiled changes to their names, such as Inspector Bucket, I think, is the character in the Dickens. He is Inspector Pocket in this book. So yeah, it was really good and really good fun. And I almost want to just listen to it over again, which maybe I will later in the month. Depends on how the rest of my reading goes. But yeah, definitely recommend that one. Hi all, it's the 20th of December. This week I finished 2 books, 2 contemporary romances, Christmas themed. And the first one was Christmas by the Sea by Melody Carlson. I listened to this one on audio. This is a short, sweet romance that follows Wendy, who inherits a beach house, and she goes there with her son to get it ready to sell, but she hasn't told her son that. He thinks they're going to live there. She doesn't have the heart to tell him before Christmas, and while she's there she meets a local guy who owns a furniture shop, I think, and things progress from there. It's a short book, so the plot and character development were quite simplistic. I still found it fun to read. I think it was going to be a solid 4 out of 5 up until the ending, which I felt was a bit rushed, so I dropped it to 3.75 out of 5. And the second book I just finished reading was While It Was Snowing by Tari Faris. This is book 2.5, I think, in her series, but I haven't read any of the other books. It didn't confuse me at all. I think there probably are characters in here that refer back to previous books, but it's romance stories. They kind of tend to end the same way anyway, so it's not like it's spoilers for anything. This book follows Dan, or Danielle, who ends up becoming a bridesmaid at her friend's wedding, and she has been best friends with the woman who's getting married, her brother. She's best friends with Gideon. So they work at a mechanic garage together, and they have been friends for ages. She's liked him for ages, and he's always thought of her as one of the guys, until she turns up at the wedding in a bridesmaid dress, and suddenly he kind of has to rethink things. So this is a friends to lovers type of story, will they, won't they kind of story. It had a lot of fun winter and Christmas elements woven into it. I also really enjoyed the spiritual content that was in this book. The romance got a little cheesy at times, but I can cope with a little bit of cheese at Christmas in contemporary romances. To sum up, it was a good short winter romance with some good character development and some emotional jeopardy. So I will give this one 4.25 out of 5 stars. Hi, it's the 23rd of December. I finished reading All Is Calm, All Is Bright by Colleen, Coble. I listened to the audiobook of this one. It's actually 2 Christmas novellas bound up into one. So the first one, All Is Calm, I think, is the Christmas one that goes with her. I think it's called the Lone Star series. It's to do with a ranch. I haven't read the series. This one follows a woman who is suspected of a murder, and she escapes to this ranch that has looks after foster children. She was there when she was younger, and so she goes back there hoping for safety along with her horse. She meets a guy there who's on leave from the Marines, I think, and they have kind of an instant attraction to each other and have to work out who really did the murder that she was implicated in. It's quite a short book, so I found the mystery was quite quick. I'm not a great fan of insta love and love at first sight things. I find sometimes they're done well, but often they feel a little bit unbelievable, and they kind of miss out all the stages of the romance that you like to see as people get closer to each other. So I would give this one 3.5 out of 5 stars. The second one is part of a series that I did read this year, the Hope Beach series. So that's All Is Bright. And this follows 2 of the side characters that were in that series. And I think probably because I read this series, I connected with this one a lot more. I was already familiar with the characters. They have already known each other for a long time before any kind of romance starts. But then the main female character, she is driving home one night and her car is pushed off the cliff and into the sea, and she manages to somehow escape, and they are trying to track down who has been trying to kill her. Whilst it's also a wedding for one of the characters that were in the previous books from the series. So I really enjoyed this one. I found the romance more believable. The mystery elements were definitely more dramatic, and I felt like the structure of the story was less vague and more kind of focused. So I give this one 4.5 out of 5. So overall I give it 4 out of 5 stars. Hi everyone, Merry Christmas. It is the 27th of December today, and this week I finished listening to the devotional Unwrapping the Names of Jesus, which was a really great Advent devotional. Wish I'd started it right at the beginning of Advent in November, but I started at the beginning of December, still managed to get through it by Christmas time. It goes through all the different names of Jesus in an audiobook. It's about 3 or 4 minutes long each day, but she does give you some scriptures to read if you want to do further study. I just did the devotional itself as an add-on to what I was already doing this month. But it was a really great reminder throughout Advent of Jesus and the different names of Jesus, the different characteristics that he has, getting to know him deeper, and just focusing my mind throughout Advent on the real reason for Christmas, when everything else is busy in a different way this year. But yeah, it was really good. I would definitely listen to it again another year, maybe do it as a proper Bible study. So I recommend this one. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Hi all, I am walking by the seaside. This is where I live. Thought I might show you some of where I I'm living. There's a lot of dogs on the beach today. There's the seaside. Hi, it's the end of New Year's Day, and yesterday I managed to finish 2 of my Christmassy books. I finished Christmas Carol and Other Writings. I read The Christmas Carol before Christmas and finally finished up the other ones. A Christmas Carol I would give 5 out of 5. It's genius, it's fantastic, classic novel to read. The other books in this one were a little dull for my taste. They're kind of rambling. Some of them were like just his thoughts about Christmas trees and Christmases from his childhood, maybe, I'm not sure. They were kind of interesting. But so what was the other one? One of the stories was one from Pickwick Papers, which I knew really well, so I enjoyed that one. But then there was a whole another kind of small novel in there, I think called The Haunted Man. Yes, The Haunted Man and the Ghost's Bargain, which I DNF'd the first time round. I just couldn't get into it. It was so rambling and so dull. And then I came back to it because I was determined to finish the book. And I think I got a bit more of what it was about by the end of that story. But yeah, that was hard work. Put me to sleep at night, definitely, reading it before bedtime. But yeah, I definitely recommend Christmas Carol. And I really bought it because I wanted a nice copy, a hardback copy of it. So don't really mind about the other books not being my taste. But I am trying to keep going and read through Charles Dickens. I think I've only got 2 more novels to finish, but I've been trying to finish them for ages as well. So some of his novels I find absolute genius, and other ones just don't get on with so much. Yeah, overall I give it 4 out of 5. But that's kind of split between really good and mediocre things. And then the other book that I finished was the Nativity Story, which is the novelisation of the film Nativity Story. And this one was written by Angela Hunt, based on the motion picture written by Mike Rich. This is fantastic. This was a biblical fiction book which follows through very closely the story from the Bible of the Nativity stories and brings it all together. I loved how it gave the kind of cultural background to what it would have been like to live at the time and what it would have been like for Mary as she was considered an unmarried mother, and the things that went through their head, might have gone through their heads. I felt like it was very convincing and very true to the story, and stayed very close. Whenever it came to a part that's in the Bible, it stayed very close to the dialogue that is written as it is, which I really liked. And yeah, I would definitely read this one again another year, and maybe start at the beginning of Advent and read a chapter a day through the Christmas period. So yeah, definitely recommend this one. It's a few years old now, I think maybe 15 years old. So there should be some used copies floating around if you can get your hold of those. And I picked up another novelisation that she's done of the Risen film, which is not a film I've seen, but I would like to read that one through during Lent. Another 5 out of 5 star read to end the year. So this week we found out that in the UK that we have gone into another national lockdown. Schools have closed down, universities have closed down, people have been told to work from home, non-essential shops have closed down, so we are not allowed to do anything except go for a walk outside to get some exercise and buy supplies, essential supplies. That's going to go on for a little while, I think. So do keep us in your prayers. I know that other people have got things going on as well where you are, and I do pray for you. In the UK we have a different strain, a mutated strain that's gone around. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it is supposed to be 50 to 70% more infectious than the previous COVID strain. So our lockdown previously was not holding it back. So we've gone into a stricter lockdown now. So yeah, that's going to be fun. It's all fun. But God is in control, and he is the one who has the ultimate say over my life and over your lives, and we do not need to fear. The final Christmas book that I read was An Ivy Hill Christmas by Julie Klassen. She is a new author to me. I believe this series has 3 previous books that come before this Christmas. It's called a novella, but it's quite long. I didn't have any problems reading it or understanding what was going on. I did, however, feel like some of the characters that they went to visit and that kind of popped up as side characters were probably main characters in some of the previous books. So I think that if you have read the other books in I think it's called Tales from Ivy Hill series, then you probably get more out of the book than I did. This book follows Richard, who is one of the younger sons, and he has spent a lot of time in London, but this year his mother calls him back to their country home to spend Christmas on threat of not giving him any more money. He comes back. He doesn't particularly like Christmas. He is kind of against settling down in a romantic way, and he has a lot of different issues from his past that he has to deal with. And he meets up with someone he knew from childhood but never really thought much of, called Arabella, and she has changed quite a bit in his opinion, but she is also sworn never to marry. She wants to live a life of good works instead. Over the course of the 12 days of Christmas, they get to know each other a little better. Things from his past pop up and come in the way of all of that. I really liked the spiritual aspect of this story. It follows a kind of redemption plot as Richard gets to know God more as his spiritual life develops and his emotional life develops. I like that it gave me the kind of vibes that I got from A Christmas Carol without the supernatural elements to it, but it focuses more on salvation through grace rather than through charity works, which is kind of the impression you come away with from A Christmas Carol. The romance was sweet without being corny or cheesy, which was great. I listened to it on audiobook. I enjoyed the narrator. I listened to it at quite fast speed, on 2.2 speed. I think. So I was listening quite fast through, so it felt like it was quite fast paced. And it's certainly, this is an author that I will check out again in the future. Possibly I will read the other books in this series. I gave this book 4.75 out of 5 stars. So those are all the books that I've read recently. Let me know in the comments any books that you've completed in December. I really like Christmas books because they tend to be shorter, and that makes me feel like I've read a lot more, when I probably page count wise I probably read just about the same as I usually do, but 8 books is a lot for me in 1 month, so I'm quite pleased with that. Okay, I hope you have a great reading week and month and find some really good books to read. So until next time, take care. Bye.